Ladies and gentlemen, there's something extraordinary happening in the science of aging. And the truth is, muscle loss is not inevitable. It's optional. You are not destined to grow weaker as the years go by. But the answer isn't hidden in a pill. It's not buried in a gym membership. It's found in a nightly habit that rewires your biology and reclaims your strength, no matter your age. Every night, your body gets a chance to reset. But here's the truth, and it's not just sleep that restores you. It's what you do before sleep that determines what your body builds or loses. Science has shown us that muscle preservation and regeneration don't stop at the gym or dinner table. They continue deep into the night. While you sleep, your body either grows stronger or weaker. And that result, it depends entirely on how you prime your system before your head hits the pillow. So what should you do? Start with light resistance-based stretching. Not exhausting, just enough to activate the sensors inside your muscle fibers. When you stretch with intention, holding and engaging, not just relaxing, you send a message to your body. This muscle matters. You keep it. Those tiny signals trigger protective mechanisms that prevent your body from cannibalizing your own strength during sleep. Then ingest a slow digesting protein source, not a full meal. Just 20-30 grams, casein, Greek yogurt, or a protein blend. It's not the quantity, it's the timing. When you provide your body with amino acids before bed, you give it the building blocks it needs. Exactly when it's releasing the most growth hormone during deep sleep. But don't stop there. Support your nervous system. A calm brain signals to your body that it's safe to rebuild. That means no phones, no blue light, no chaos, magnesium and glycine, naturally calming compounds. Help you wind down, deepen your sleep, and reduce the cortisol that eats away at muscle tissue. Here's what's incredible. Studies show that older adults who adopt this simple nighttime protocol stop muscle loss in its tracks, even reversing sarcopenia. They sleep better, wake stronger, and experience faster mobility improvements without changing their entire day. Why? Because the nervous system governs everything, and the nervous system is most moldable when you're transitioning into sleep. So tonight and every night after, build a ritual. Move lightly. How do we? Fuel wisely. Calm deeply. Give your body the tools it needs to recover, rebuild, and retain what matters most. Your strength, your energy, and your independence. Remember, you don't lose muscle because you age. You lose muscle because you stop signaling it to stay. But now you know the signal. And it starts tonight. Even during rest, your muscles are receiving instructions from your nervous system and endocrine system, shaping how they behave, recover, and grow. The notion that muscle growth only happens in the gym is a myth. In truth, the signaling that promotes muscle protein synthesis is heavily dependent on what happens when you're not training, especially at night. The nervous system never truly shuts off. Instead, it shifts gears, transitioning into a parasympathetic dominant state that governs recovery and tissue repair. This state is highly sensitive to key physical movement, nutrient availability, and hormonal rhythms all serve as signals that either enhance or degrade muscle retention. What you do in the final 60 minutes before sleep carries surprising influence. Gentle muscular engagement, like isometric holds, resistance band stretches, or slow body weight squats, triggers mechanoreceptors in muscle fibers that send direct feedback to the central nervous system. This feedback influences hormonal outputs and neural prioritization during sleep. In other words, if your body senses that a muscle is being used and activated, it's far less likely to cannibalize it during fasting overnight hours. It's a neural prioritization process rooted in evolutionary biology. The body keeps what it thinks is necessary and sheds what it deems expendable. Muscles that are stimulated, even lightly, right before sleep are tagged as active tissue, worthy of repair and preservation. This is also the window when growth hormone secretion begins to spike. Deep, slow-wave sleep is tightly linked with these growth-related pulses, and the magnitude of their effect is largely dependent on what kind of message your musculoskeletal system is sending right before you fall asleep. If the body perceives an anabolic environment through light movement, low stress, and nutrient presence, it doubles down on repair. The signals coming from tendons, ligaments, and muscle spindles provide a real-time physiological narrative that the brain uses to decide where to direct resources. When these signals are present, growth hormone doesn't just passively circulate, it actively supports muscular regeneration and repair where it's most needed. This dynamic system of feedback and recovery has been confirmed through EMG studies, hormonal assessments, and muscle biopsy data in older adults. Even passive stretching activates intracellular pathways associated with mTOR, a master regulator of muscle growth. And it's not the intensity that matters most. It's the consistency and timing. When those signals are delivered predictably at night, the body responds with a powerful cascade of protective and anabolic processes that preserve strength, structure, and coordination well into older age. The depth and quality of your sleep have a direct and measurable impact on your muscle tissue. Not just how it feels, but how it functions, repairs, and resists atrophy. During the deepest stages of non-REM sleep, the body enters a state of heightened anabolic activity, releasing surges of growth hormone that are critical for muscle protein synthesis. These pulses don't occur randomly. They are tightly coupled to slow wave sleep cycles, which are only accessible when the brain and body achieve a specific state of restfulness. Poor sleep quality interrupts or shortens these cycles, reducing the availability of growth hormone, impairing tissue recovery, and shifting the hormonal environment toward catabolism. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, naturally decreases in healthy sleep patterns. But when sleep is fragmented, shallow, or too short, cortisol remains elevated well into the night and early morning, creating a biological environment that favors muscle breakdown. This is especially critical for older adults who already experience age-related declines in anabolic hormone production. In this context, every hour of restorative sleep becomes a battleground for preserving lean mass. High-quality sleep tilts the balance in favor of muscle retention by enhancing insulin sensitivity, reducing systemic inflammation, and supporting mitochondrial health, all of which are essential for sustained muscular performance. Neuromuscular coordination is also refined during sleep. Synaptic pruning, memory consolidation, and motor learning occur while the brain replays patterns from the day, strengthening the neural connections between the brain and the muscle groups most frequently used. This process improves strength not just by adding muscle fibers, but by refining the communication between the nervous system and those fibers. The smoother the signal, the more efficient the contraction. This refinement is why skilled movement, stability, and balance improve after deep rest, and why sleep-deprived individuals often experience impaired reaction time, muscle fatigue, and coordination errors. So how do we? All sleep influences muscle quality through its impact on hormonal regulators like testosterone and IGF-1, both of which decline with inadequate rest. Testosterone plays a vital role in the maintenance of type 2 fast twitch fibers, the ones most responsible for power, stability, and fall prevention. When these fibers atrophy, mobility diminishes and independence becomes threatened. Yet studies show that one night of poor sleep can lower testosterone levels by 115%, and chronic deprivation compounds this effect. In contrast, restoring sleep optimal levels, generally between 7.5 and 9 hours depending on the individual, leads to improved lean mass retention, better training adaptations, and faster muscle recovery. At the cellular level, sleep supports autophagy, the natural process of clearing damaged cellular components and replacing them with new functional ones. In muscle tissue, this is particularly important for maintaining contractile strength and resistance to injury. Without adequate sleep, autophagy is impaired, leading to a dysfunctional of proteins and mitochondrial inefficiency, both of which accelerate sarcopenia. But with consistent high-quality sleep, these regenerative processes operate at full capacity, helping the muscle not only maintain its mass, but also upgrade its internal quality, elasticity, and endurance. Magnesium and glycine work synergistically within the nervous system and muscle tissue to create a state of physiological readiness for deep recovery and muscle preservation during sleep. Magnesium is an essential mineral that regulates over 300 enzymatic reactions in the human body, many of which are directly tied to muscular contraction, relaxation, and repair. It acts as a natural calcium blocker, preventing the overstimulation of muscle fibers and helping muscles relax fully at night. A critical state for initiating the parasympathetic, or rest and repair, phase of the nervous system. Low magnesium levels are frequently correlated with poor sleep quality, higher levels of nocturnal cortisol, and increased muscle cramping or twitching, particularly in older adults whose absorption efficiency and renal retention of magnesium tend to decline with age. In parallel, glycine, a non-essential amino acid, plays a distinct yet complementary role in nighttime muscle maintenance. It functions as an inhibitory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system, promoting the cooling of the body's core temperature and facilitating the drop in metabolic rate that initiates deeper sleep phases. But beyond its effects on sleep latency and depth, glycine serves as a substrate in the synthesis of collagen and creatine, both of which are crucial for maintaining the structural integrity and energy supply of skeletal muscle tissue. Ingesting glycine before bed has been shown to improve sleep architecture, reduce nighttime awakenings, and promote more sustained anabolic activity throughout the night. Both magnesium and glycine also modulate stress responses, reducing nighttime cortisol levels that would otherwise degrade muscle proteins for fuel in the absence of food intake. This is particularly important in older individuals where the hormonal balance tends to tip toward catabolism if not actively supported. How do we? Elevated cortisol not only breaks down muscle tissue, but also impairs insulin sensitivity and growth hormone secretion, two processes that are essential for overnight muscle repair and glucose regulation. By reducing the neurochemical signals of stress, these two compounds protect the body from slipping into a muscle wasting state during prolonged sleep fasts. Additionally, magnesium enhances the function of GABA, the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, which slows neuronal activity and allows the transition into deep sleep. This calming effect reduces sympathetic nervous system overactivity, the same system that, when overactive, increases muscle breakdown and reduces recovery. Glycine, in turn, helps refine sleep cycles by shortening the time to slow wave sleep and lengthening the time spent within it. This matters because it is during slow wave sleep that pulses of growth hormone and IGF-1 are released, both of which are directly tied to muscle repair, protein synthesis, and connective tissue healing. Magnesium also plays a role in maintaining intracellular potassium levels and ATP production, foundational components of muscular endurance and recovery. In the absence of sufficient magnesium, muscles may remain in a low-grade state of tension, which disrupts the initiation of muscle repair and diminishes mitochondrial efficiency. With proper magnesium levels, muscles can enter a relaxed, energy-efficient state that allows for full contractile reset and cellular cleanup. Glycine supports this by acting as an antioxidant buffer, reducing oxidative stress that accumulates from daily movement and physical exertion, further aiding in the recovery of muscle fibers and joint tissue overnight. Resistance stretching before bed functions as a low-intensity, high-impact signal to the neuromuscular system, activating a series of biochemical pathways that support anabolic signaling and muscle preservation. Unlike traditional static stretching, which primarily lengthens the muscle passively, resistance-based stretching applies controlled tension through active engagement of the muscle during elongation. This activates mechanotransduction, the process by which mechanical signals are converted into chemical activity within muscle cells. When a muscle is placed under tension and then lengthened, specialized receptors such as integrins, focal adhesion kinases, FFAC, and mTOR pathways are stimulated, all of which are central to muscle protein synthesis and structural remodeling. Performing resistance stretches in the evening capitalizes on a unique biological window. At night, the body is preparing to enter a state of parasympathetic dominance, meaning the recovery and repair systems are already beginning to take over. Light muscular activation during this period doesn't hinder rest. It enhances it by priming the muscle to be recognized as active tissue by the central nervous system. The body is incredibly efficient at resource allocation, especially during sleep. Tissues that have been recently stimulated are more likely to receive the cellular resources necessary for regeneration, such as amino acids, growth hormone, and stem cell support. This prioritization ensures that muscles undergoing light pre-sleep engagement are treated as essential structures, preserving their strength and function even in aging populations. This form of stretching also promotes blow to the targeted muscle groups without inducing central fatigue. Increased circulation delivers oxygen, glucose, and amino acids to the muscle bed, creating an environment favorable to hypertrophy and metabolic efficiency. Furthermore, the gentle contraction release pattern used in resistance stretching stimulates proprioceptors like muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organs, enhancing neuromuscular awareness and coordination. These neural structures feed continuous feedback to the spinal cord and brain, reinforcing motor. Circadian timing plays a foundational role in how the body metabolizes nutrients, builds or breaks down muscle tissue, and regulates hormonal rhythms that govern recovery, energy, and physical resilience. While calorie intake and macronutrient composition are critical, they do not function in isolation. Their effectiveness is significantly influenced by when they are consumed in relation to the body's internal clock. This internal clock, governed by the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, synchronizes countless peripheral clocks located in tissues throughout the body, including skeletal muscle. These peripheral clocks respond not just to light and activity, but also to feeding times, which act as powerful synchronizers for cellular processes. Muscle tissue exhibits time-dependent sensitivity to nutrients. Research has shown that the responsiveness of muscle to anabolic stimuli, particularly protein intake, follows a circadian pattern with heightened sensitivity during the evening and early sleep window. Consuming protein during this window, especially slow digesting sources like casein or collagen-rich foods, leads to higher net protein balance throughout the night. This is due in part to the coordinated release of growth hormone, IGF-1, and testosterone during early sleep phases, which are most effectively utilized when amino acids are present in the bloodstream. If feeding occurs too early or too late, misaligned with these hormonal pulses, the body may fail to maximize protein synthesis. even if the total protein intake is sufficient. Furthermore, insulin sensitivity follows a circadian rhythm, peaking in the morning and gradually declining throughout the day. This affects how efficiently muscles can take up glucose and amino acids for repair and energy. However, during the early evening, muscle tissue remains moderately receptive to nutrients, particularly when paired with physical cues like movement or stretching. How do we? When meals are timed in alignment with the circadian-driven hormonal environment, such as a light protein-rich meal 102 hours before bed, the body is able to utilize nutrients more effectively, supporting overnight anabolism while minimizing fat storage or insulin resistance. The timing of nutrient intake also influences sleep quality, which in turn affects muscle preservation. Eating too late or consuming meals high in sugar or fat right before bed can impair sleep architecture, reducing time spent in deep sleep, where most of the muscle repairing hormonal activity occurs. In contrast, a precisely timed pre-sleep feeding, low in carbohydrates and high in amino acids like leucine and glycine, enhances sleep onset, sleep depth, and muscular repair simultaneously. This optimized sleep-nutrient interaction becomes even more critical with age, as older adults experience blunted hormonal responses and slower muscle regeneration, making every cue to the body more meaningful. Moreover, circadian-aligned nutrient intake helps regulate the expression of genes involved in protein turnover, mitochondrial efficiency, and inflammation resolution. These genes are not static. They oscillate throughout the 24-hour day, meaning that the same meal can have radically different effects depending on when it is consumed. Ignoring circadian timing flattens these natural oscillations, weakening the body's ability to coordinate recovery and maintain lean mass. But aligning feeding patterns with the body's intrinsic biological rhythms reactivates ancient hormonal and genetic pathways that are evolutionarily designed to conserve and rebuild muscle tissue efficiently, especially during sleep. The process of neurological wind down before bed is a critical but often overlooked component of muscular recovery, particularly in aging individuals where neuroplasticity and muscular regeneration are already diminished by default. As the body prepares for sleep, the autonomic nervous system begins to shift from sympathetic dominance, the high alert, stress responsive state, toward parasympathetic activation, which is associated with rest, digestion, and cellular repair. This transition is not passive. It requires deliberate signaling. And what you do in the final hour of your day has a profound impact on how effectively your body initiates this shift. A properly designed neurological wind down sequence, the brains send a clear and coherent message to the body. It's time to rebuild, not defend or deplete. This calm downread regulates neurotransmitters such as GABA and serotonin, both of which play a direct role in reducing neural excitation and triggering the cascade of processes associated with deep restorative sleep. Elevated GABA levels reduce cortical arousal, dampen sensory input, and promote muscle relaxation at the neuromuscular junction, which is essential for initiating the anabolic processes that occur during slow wave sleep. When the brain is overstimulated through exposure to blue light, high emotional reactivity, or late evening multitasking, this state of restfulness is delayed, fragmented, or bypassed entirely, leading to incomplete recovery and a higher likelihood of muscle catabolism. Wind down rituals that activate the parasympathetic system, such as diaphragmatic breathing, non-sleep deep rest protocols, gentle stretching, or mindful journaling, help suppress the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal HPA axis, lowering circulating cortisol and increasing melatonin production. Lower cortisol levels remove one of the primary barriers to muscle retention, as elevated cortisol encourages protein breakdown and impairs insulin sensitivity, two key drivers of age-related muscle loss. By reducing this stress signal before bed, the body is allowed to enter a deeper anabolic state, maximizing the effect of any pre-sleep nutrients and hormonal secretions that support muscle regeneration. In addition, neurological wind down helps reinforce consistent circadian rhythms, which in turn optimize the timing of sleep stages, particularly those involved in growth hormone release and muscle memory consolidation. The nervous system doesn't just facilitate sleep onset, it coordinates the order, depth, and efficiency of the sleep cycles themselves. When this system is guided properly, the body spends more time in slow wave sleep and REM sleep, both of which are associated with motor skill learning, tissue repair, and systemic inflammation reduction. During these phases, the neuromuscular system undergoes subtle recalibrations, reinforcing motor pathways that were activated during the day and cleaning up oxidative stress that accumulates in the muscle fibers themselves. Additionally, certain pre-sleep cognitive and sensory inputs have been shown to influence muscle tone and proprioceptive awareness. Activities like slow-paced audiobooks, guided body scans, or tactile relaxation techniques decrease the level of background cortical noise and help integrate the physical body with the brain's perception of it. A factor that becomes increasingly important with aging as proprioception, balance, and coordination decline. This neural integration supports not just passive repair, but also active retention by improving the clarity of the signal from brain to muscle and back again. The more coherent and consistent this signaling becomes, the more the body treats the muscle as functional and worth maintaining, activating the exact pathways needed to prevent atrophy and promote strength even during extended periods of rest.